Magwana ni Malelepo, Vukenjani, Klekwas, Dumelang Banave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. Today we'll be joined by Talent Gore as she delivers the Zimbabwe report, which has some interesting updates, including a government-aligned businessman offering members of parliament $3.2 million each. And this is ahead of the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 vote. She's also going to cover the ongoing story of Chatunga Mugabe, Robert Mugabe's son, who is currently in jail in South Africa awaiting the finishing of his trial. Nurses in Zimbabwe are also on strike. All those updates and more coming from Talent Gore. But prior to that, these are some of the top stories we'll be looking at. Nigeria moves to restrict broadcast conduct ahead of 2027 elections. Pope Leo condemns exploitation and oppression during Angola visit. Zambia removes bail for sexual offences suspects under new law. DNA breakthrough links British soldiers to children born near Kenya base. Macky Sall among candidates for United Nations top leadership role. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, YOUTUB.com, NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA, that's Africa with a K, is precisely where you can always watch Africa Good Morning. My name is Ashwin Bedi. Top stories shortly.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Nigeria's broadcast regulator has prohibited radio and TV presenters from expressing personal opinions, intimidating guests, or airing divisive political material, warning of sanctions ahead of the 2027 general elections. Africa's largest democracy will go to the polls in January, following previous election cycles affected by misinformation and sporadic violence. In a notice issued on Friday, the National Broadcasting Commission said it would strictly enforce provisions of the Broadcasting Code that forbid presenters from presenting personal views as fact, denying opposing perspectives a fair hearing, and airing hateful or inflammatory material capable of inciting disorder or undermining constitutional authority and national cohesion. While similar restrictions exist in other democracies during campaigns, critics argue enforcement in Nigeria has historically been uneven. Some opposition figures and rights groups criticized the directive, with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar saying it could muzzle the media and shrink space for free expression. The NBC said it had recorded a sustained rise in breaches in Nigeria, warning neutrality violations would be treated as serious offenses. Very interesting update. Fortunately, we are in Namibia, one of the most press-free countries in Africa, and you can watch Second Take every Sunday at 9 p.m. That is political satire, unapologetic expression, where we will be covering this Nigeria update. Now, we swing to Angola, but with the mix of the Vatican. Pope Leo said during an event in Angola that many people were being exploited by authoritarians and defrauded by the rich. reflecting a more forceful speaking style adopted during his Africa tour. Speaking to worshippers at a mass in Saurimo, near the Democratic Republic of Congo border, the first U.S. Pope said violence and oppression contradict the Christian message. He stated that every form of oppression, violence, exploitation, and dishonesty negates the resurrection of Christ, referring to a core belief of Christianity. His visit to Angola marks the third leg of a 10-day Africa tour spanning 4 countries and nearly 18,000 kilometers across 18 flights. Leo, who became head of the Catholic Church last May, had kept a relatively low profile during his early months, but has increasingly issued strong denunciations of war and inequality. He has repeatedly criticized world leaders without naming them, and previously decried exploitation of Africa's natural resources by despots and tyrants. Zambia has amended its law on sexual offences to require suspects to remain in custody until their cases are concluded in a court, a move welcomed by many, but raising concerns about potential injustice. The Criminal Procedure Code Amendment Act No. 4 of 2026 means suspects of offences including child sexual abuse, rape and incest must stay in custody throughout legal proceedings. Justice Minister Princess Kasune Zulu announced the change, which has drawn varied responses regarding victim protection and risks to the accused. The Young Women's Christian Association described the law as progressive, saying it addresses long-standing concerns about alleged perpetrators intimidating victims after release. Musician and activist Daputsang Kata Zulu also supported the move, calling it overdue. However, concerns have emerged that false allegations could arise and that suspects may spend extended periods in custody due to delays in court proceedings. Some individuals highlighted cases of prolonged detention before trial. Advocates say safeguards such as improved investigations and faster courts are needed to balance protection for victims and fairness for the accused. Now, a legal and DNA investigation has identified British military personnel as fathers of children born near an army base in Kenya, providing answers for families seeking identity and support. A contractor and 19 soldiers stationed at the British Army Training Unit in Kenya have been linked to children through DNA testing and legal processes, with 12 cases confirmed by the UK's highest family court judge. The findings follow efforts led by solicitor James Neto and lawyer Calvin Kubai, who used DNA kits and genealogy databases to trace paternal connections. Many of the children had grown up without knowledge of their fathers, some believing they were dead, and faced financial hardship and social challenges. The investigation highlights nearly 100 documented cases with potential for more. Some identified fathers have not engaged with their children, while others have begun offering support. The UK Ministry of Defence said it deeply regrets issues related to its presence in Kenya and expects personnel to take responsibility. The work continues, with further cases expected before the High Court in coming months. Now, Senegal's former president Macky Sall is one of 4 candidates auditioning this week for the position of United Nations Secretary General, as current Chief Antonio Guterres prepares to leave office at the end of the year. Sall is the only African candidate among the group, which also includes Michelle Bachelet of Chile, Rafael Mariano Grossi of Argentina, and Rebecca Greenspan of Costa Rica. The candidates will take part in question and answer sessions with representatives from the UN's 193 member states. The race comes in a markedly different global climate compared to 2016, with increased geopolitical divisions and a diminished role for the UN in resolving conflicts. The Security Council has faced challenges in addressing wars in Ukraine, Gaza, and Iran, affecting perceptions of the organization's effectiveness. Analysts say fewer candidates reflect caution among governments amid diplomatic sensitivities. Sall was nominated by Burundi, while Senegal has not endorsed him. The selection process ultimately depends on recommendation by the Security Council and approval by the General Assembly. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we will be joined by Talent Gore, who is in Harare, Zimbabwe, as she delivers the Zimbabwe report. But prior to that, let's have a look at the weather. Right. It's time for us to talk to Talent Gore. Talent Wamkase.
Samka edukana mamka say Afrika.
Tamuka Hedu. Now, Talent, I was just caught off guard there because I'm trying to make sense of the numbers. I'm trying to make sense of the intentions, and I hope you can break it all down for us. We know Chivayo, a government-aligned businessman, to say the very least, has offered millions of dollars to parliamentarians. And this is leading to the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 vote, which will, if it goes through, extend the president's tenure as well as move the Zimbabwean election vote from the popular vote to parliament.
This man, Wickno Chivayo, has announced that he will donate 3.6 million United States dollars to all 360 members of parliament and senators, saying he received personal approval from President Emmerson Mnangagwa for the gesture. This disclosure has raised questions about the timing, coming weeks before legislators expected to vote on a contentious constitutional amendment bill that would extend the president's term in office. In a lengthy social media statement published on Saturday, which was also Zimbabwe's 46th Independence Day, Chivayo said he would hand over the funds to the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Mudenda, next week, with each member of parliament and senator in the 360-member chamber receiving 10,000 United States dollars for use towards which he says it is towards constituency development. The announcement comes as Parliament prepares to deliberate on Constitutional Amendment number 3 bill, which civil society groups and opposition figures have opposed, arguing it is designed to entrench executive power and extend President Mnangagwa's tenure beyond constitutionally prescribed limits. Critics of the bill, including the Defend the Constitution platform, the Constitutional Defenders Forum, and the National Constituency Assembly, formally withdrew from parliamentary hearings, warning that the process is being driven by partisan interests rather than genuine public consultations. Chivayo did not reference the amendment bill in his statement when he made that public post, but you will find out that yesterday, the ZANU-PF Youth League released a statement condemning these actions by Wickno Chivayo, saying that he has no right whatsoever to give a parliament, or rather to be involved in the executive power of Zimbabwe. He has no rights, and he cannot give that money to the parliament because it will breach the whole purpose of the parliament. So the ZANU-PF Youth League said that if he wants to donate, he should do so on his own. He should not donate to members of parliament and senators. He should go to the constituencies, to communities on his own, and donate on his own, and not give out to members of parliament, saying that they should go and do community development in their areas. This is the first rather that the youth league, the ZANU-PF Youth League in particular, have actually condemned such an act by controversial businessman Wickno Chivayo. But yesterday, when the office of the president was asked to comment on this particular incident, they did not respond. So we are just waiting to hear what they are going to say. Usually, the deputy spokesperson to the president, George Charamba, is usually the one who responds to these issues. So right now, they have not responded. They have not said a thing. But the ZANU-PF Youth League has actually responded and condemned this action by Wickno Chivayo.
All right, now Talent, could you please update us on the Chatunga Mugabe case in South Africa?
As we all know, Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe, who is the last of late former President Robert Mugabe, is in a South African, and right now Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe has pleaded guilty on Friday to pointing a gun and illegally being in South Africa, but denied shooting and badly wounding his gardener after an altercation. Bellarmine Chetunga Mugabe, who's 29, had been in police custody with his cousin and co-accused Tobias Mugabe Matonodze on attempted murder charges following the incident in Johannesburg. Mugabe pleaded guilty to being in South Africa illegally and pointing a gun in a separate incident, whilst Matonodze pleaded guilty to attempted murder. Matonodze, who is 32, also admitted to contravening immigration and firearm laws. He dismissed suggestions that Matonodze was taking the fall for Mugabe, calling the claims very ludicrous. Advocate Lawrence Hodge argued in mitigation for the two men, saying Mugabe is willing to pay a fine and meet the cost for his own deportation to Zimbabwe. The firearm used in the shooting is not been recovered since the two were arrested on February 19, and the police-led investigator told the court that this was a sign that Matonodze had no remorse. The case was adjourned to April 24 for prosecutors to verify if the gardener Sipho Mahlangu was compensated and for Matonodze to provide details on where the firearm used in the shooting can be found. So the case has been adjourned to April 2024, and Bellarmine has actually pleaded guilty to pointing a firearm and being in South Africa illegally, but he has not pleaded guilty to attempted murder charges. But his cousin, his co-accuser, has actually pleaded to those charges. He has pleaded guilty to attempted murder charges. But as of now, the gun that has been used or that was used in that shooting has not been found. So they will be back in court on April 2024.
Thank you very much for that, Talent. Would have loved to get into the Zimbabwe bird story. However, we did cover that a bit yesterday, and we'll certainly talk about it towards the end of the week. What is more pertinent right now, particularly with regards to our time, is the nurses' strike. And before you get into that story, Talent, here is one of the nurses in Zimbabwe exclaiming what they're going through.
basa ratinoita isi food chaicha kuti tidye tiri mabasa nokuti vamwe vakawanda vakurwara nezvirwere zvatotapurirwa nazvo mapatients nenyaya yeimmune system yedu chaichayo haisi kutoita nemari transport allowance izvo kuite basa unonoita hitchhiking ichibhadhara 150 kuya kuno transport kuya kuno vapedza izvozvo mari chaiyo kuti maschool fees evana kwaunogara rent mvura magetsi haikwani saka sakabatikana aiwa ngaimbotione gavhmenti mona mwana achizosvika pakuti ko mama madisiya basa racho magara pamba utoona kuti papeji ibereki ndo panoita hedhi tikufa tichifamba it's not nice ndabvira kudhara nestruggle chido nebasa redu tinaro varwere redu anototirwadza isusu haifanira kunge chivasiya zoti netochada kupepwa. Imagine ndichipepa kudaro
vanhu vese vari kuita the same thing. It's the same language kumanesi ese muZimbabwe right now. Handiri kuwirirana. So pakufamba kwatinoita tikuti zvinhu zviri pamutemo kaizvi. Tine 72 hours. Zatichange tiri kumba tisiri kuuya. Handiti ka 72 hours kuti.
So those were nurses from Asylum Mugabe Hospital who were actually lamenting, saying that they have 72 hours that they're going to be staying at home. They are striking today. They're not coming into work. Yesterday they were there, but they were not working. I was at Parinyatko group of hospitals yesterday, and the situation is quite dire. The nurses, they were not doing anything, and the doctors themselves actually told us that the nurses, they are not working, and they are only attending to emergencies. So if it's not an emergency, there was no attendance from the nurses themselves. And the Zimbabwe Nurses Association has said that the latest pay review was inadequate and demonstrated that the employer had not, and in fact does not intend to meet the expectations of its employees. Despite engagements and promises following the initial notice, nurses are demanding a wholesale review of their salaries after fuel price increase in March raised the cost of transport and other services. Nurses have declared strikes from Monday, which was yesterday, April 20, to Wednesday, April 2022. To Wednesday, April 22, after accusing the government of re-engaging on salary improvement promises made to avert an earlier threatened strike. Zimbabwe Nurses Association President Enoch Dongo said the April 2026 pay cycle had delivered increases so little they amounted to a mere token that cannot be taken seriously. So just a few days ago, the government announced that they had reviewed salaries for all civil servants. So the first batch that got paid with the uniformed forces, which is the police and the soldiers. And upon investigating, we found out that there was a 24 United States dollars salary increase, and the nurses are saying that it's not enough. The nurses, they want 700 United States dollars. That is the money that they were getting paid. Prior to 2017, they were getting that money. So they are saying that our monies should be 700 United States dollars, and nurses previously earned 290 and 3,500 before the government added 1,500 to their April salaries. 1,500 ZiG, which is the Zimbabwean currency, to their April salaries, an improvement of about $30 to $46. Government yesterday addressed the media, and the minister of Health and Childcare said that the nurses should go back to work whilst the government and the nurses and also the health professionals authority gather and talk about the needs of their nurses. But he pleaded with the nurses to go back to work whilst they try to find a common ground between them. So we're not really sure if the nurses today are going to their work stations. But yesterday they had said that today they are not coming in at all. But since the minister has pleaded with them to go to work, we are just going to be monitoring the situation to see if they are there and if they are working. But as of now, as of yesterday, what I know is that they were only attending to emergencies and they were not working at all. I'm not really sure about today. So we're just going to be checking to see what the situation is like.
Thank you very much, Talent, for giving us such a detailed and comprehensive Zimbabwe report.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
Always good having you on Africa. Good morning, and good having you, our viewers, on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, YOUTUB.com, streaming on NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA or NTV Africa on YouTube. It's always good to spend time with you, as we look forward to doing with you again tomorrow as Rorisang Mohojwe comes through to deliver the Botswana report. And as always, we will remain your portal to Africa's most potent stories. My name is Ashwin Berry. This has been Africa Good Morning. Lesetja Kganyago.